Good evening, youth, and happy Wednesday. I pray that wherever you are, that you are doing well. I am coming to you from another little bit of a new venue in our backyard. This is one that we have been working on for a while this week. Kayak swing was from the old house, but Papa Jay kind of helped me get that set up here. This over here is, I'm not entirely sure, it's a water table thing. It has to do with water. They drain into each other. This is a Jess project. Mine has been clearing some of this stuff out. We had a ton of wood that was just left back here, so kind of making a little bit of headway with that and clearing this area out, but it turned out to be really cool. We've actually got Liam's, I need to put Liam's death swing back up. Don't know if you saw that or not, but this is this swing. Nice! And I know it's gonna be one of those things where right now it's awesome and he loves it, but I'm sure that there might be a time when it just doesn't work out well. He's fallen off of it once and didn't hurt himself too bad. He kind of thought it was funny. But anyway, I redid the grips. Hopefully they're gonna hold up a little better and be a little safer for him. But anyway, this is just kind of a cool new area. It's also a new camera that I'm playing with that I picked up. So doing a little bit of both of those things, but wanted to give you a lesson from a very remote corner of my backyard. You ready? Well, thank you for indulging me on the little tour of our backyard. Part of it was I wanted to play with a new camera. And the other part of it was I wanted to show you all this little rediscovered area that we have back here, because it is Wednesday now, and since Sunday this is what we have been working on, weed eating and clearing stuff back. And we got the kayak. Jess's dad helped us get the kayak in, and then we cleared this fence line and just moved a bunch of wood and cleaned this whole thing out. And part of it is like, this is really cool, you should see it. And the others, I am super proud of this little area. For a week in quarantine, for week 6 or 7 or whatever this is of quarantine, this is like an accomplishment. This area is the accomplishment of our week, which is kind of strange because it's not something that normally would probably be that big of a list of an accomplishment. I mean, we clean some stuff up. We work in the yard all the time. We work in the yard all the time. This isn't a big deal, but now this is something major. And it got me to thinking about goals and ambitions and the things I have in life that I want and want for our kids and for our church and for youth and for my life and all of these things. And it looks a little different right now than it did even maybe just a month or 2 ago. And I share this because I know that we all have these goals and accomplishments and things we want out of life. Some of them are small, some of them are absolutely ridiculous, and some of them will shape the course of your entire journey. We all have things that we want to do and accomplish and be proud of. So we have this. It's good to be driven. But when that drive to accomplish and do and get more done and that sort of thing becomes too high on the priority list, it can lead to some pretty toxic living. And I think we've seen this before. I'm going to read you a short little bit of a passage out of a book called Philippians tonight. Philippians was written by a guy named Paul that we have talked about many times before. And the beginning of chapter 3, which is where I am, he's very much in this groove of telling them what 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 they should do, how they should live, and why they should do it. And then about midways in chapter 3, he kind of starts to shift gears a little bit. And honestly, in the context of this letter, I was imagining being one of those people in the church in Philippi and getting this letter from Paul, and opening it and reading it for the first time. This would have been a really big deal. I mean, it was a big enough deal that we're still talking about it 2,000 years ago. But in its day, Paul was a pretty big deal. Paul was a pretty accomplished guy. Paul had become, I mean, a major religious leader in 2 different religions. In his first life, he was, this aspiring political leader and community organizer guy. He was one of, the up-and-coming guys in the Jewish faith. He was in all of the, rabbinical magazines, 30 under 30 articles, that sort of thing. He was doing everything right and became a big deal. And in verse 4, he kind of talks about it. He says, if anyone had reason to be confident in the flesh, I had more. He was really humble too. I had more, circumcised on the 8th day, a member of the people of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew born of Hebrews, as to the law, a Pharisee, as to zeal, persecutor of the church, as to righteousness, under the law I was blameless. So this is Paul talking about Paul, about how awesome Paul is. It's kind of like a press conference. But he's very much giving his list of accomplishments. I mean, in the Jewish faith, the law was looked at as the most important part of life and who they were. And in this, Paul says, I was perfect. He had done all the right things that were the most important to his society at the time. He had graduated IB and then summa cum laude. He got into the right law school after that, and then the right internship at the right place, and everything was going exactly like it was supposed to. He was checking off the boxes, and he was very accomplished. Then in verse 7, the story, he talks about, then something happened. Yet whatever gains I had, these I have come to regard as loss because of Christ. More than that, I regard everything as loss because of the surpassing value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord. For his sake, I have suffered the loss of all things, and I regard them as rubbish, as in order that I might gain Christ. Paul tells them a story of him going about his life doing everything well, and then something happened that changed him. The things he had wanted so badly and worked so hard for were no longer important. It's a story of a very real life-changing moment for Paul. The Message version says it this way: the very credentials these people are waving around as something special, I'm tearing up and throwing out with the trash, along with everything else I took credit for. And why? Because of Christ. Yes, all the things I once thought were so important are gone from my life, compared to the high privilege I have of knowing Christ Jesus as my master. Firsthand, everything I once thought I had going for me is insignificant, done. Dumped it all in the trash so that I could embrace Christ and be embraced by him. We often experience these moments in life where something happens and all of a sudden everything's different. where it changes, and you know deep down that it will never go back to being the same. Times like this, especially, I think are a kind of one of those moments, but also a time when we can really step back and focus. And this can shape us in profound ways. I mean, my last few weeks here with Liam and Emma have genuinely been some of the best moments of my. I'm excited beyond belief to go back to youth and church and getting to see you and be here. It is 7:09 on Wednesday. Nick and Katie would be on the stage, and we would be starting to do worship. I'm so excited to go back to that and youth trips and doing all the things that we love. But the fact to me that also means that they will be going back to school, and we won't get to do this every day is kind of heartbreaking. But times like this, golly, often happen in life, where it happens and it changes us. Paul's not saying it's wrong to want to be successful, or it's wrong to accomplish things. I would say that Paul's saying quite the opposite. It's good to be driven. It's good to have dreams. But sometimes things change. And what we wanted, what we dreamed about before, no longer matters. This is how life happens sometimes. God uses these moments to reshape us and get our attention and move us in new ways. And I'm not saying that this is God ordained or anything like that. I'm saying our response and how we choose to take advantage of the gift that we have been given and the reset chance that we have right now is incredible. For Paul, his life shifted when he decided to follow Jesus. When he started following Jesus, the things he wanted to accomplish were suddenly very different. The old had passed away. What was driving him, success and wealth and power, and climbing the corporate and religious ladder, was no longer it to him. Impressing people was not his thing. His encounter with Jesus changed things. And it does. It does for all of us. I mean, this is the call of Jesus. This is what being a disciple is about. It's for your life to be changed. It means letting go of some things. It means that our goals are no longer strictly oriented around ourselves or simply making our lives better. We're orienting ourselves around others. Living our lives to try and make this world a better place. This is what Paul learned. His encounter with Jesus did not diminish his passion. Paul's encounter with Jesus simply changed what he was passionate about. It made him realize that all of those old things that used to drive him were meaningless. The wealth, the power, the status, that all of the things that he had been so hung up on were no longer a big deal. He embraced a different way to live life. The way Jesus calls us to live is genuinely the way I think we were created to live. This is what Paul is reminding us. If we're serious about following Jesus, it changes us. It shifts our focus away from ourselves and on to others and what God is doing in this world. It teaches you to look out for the needs of others. to hold on to things loosely. And I ask, has there ever been a time in life when we have needed to learn that now more than ever? Lord, help us to let go of the things that we are trying to accomplish that do not line up with your will for our lives. Help us to be dependent on you, to seek your guidance, to seek your wisdom, to invite you to shape us and mold us to want to accomplish the kinds of things you created for us and this world. God, we love you. Amen. Love you guys. See you soon.